Welcome back. Okay, so in the last part, you learned all about how to move objects. Okay, so in this part, we're going to talk about how you rotate objects, and there should be time to talk about how we scale them as well. So if I just click on this box again, and remember on navigation, so I've got my right mouse button held, and I'm using the WASD keys to float around, E to go up, Q to go down, and I'm going to press space. Now look what's happened. Rather than being the arrows, we have these, which are curves, and these represent rotating. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate, and you'll see that it gives me the amount of degrees I can rotate by. Okay. So I can rotate it that way, or again I can rotate it this way. And I can do it this way. Okay, and this is useful for precisely being able to place things wherever I need to place them. And again, remember that you can really fine tweak this if you need to. Now, the next thing we can do is we can hit space again, and we get this. They're like little hammers. They've got little boxes on the end rather than arrows. And these are our scale tools. Okay, so I can use the scale to make it longer or much, much thinner. Like that. What else can I do? Well, I can make it taller or shorter and wider, like that. But then what I can also do is I can do it on two axes at once. If I go in between them where that stick is and do that, see? I'll bring that back down again. Or I can just enlarge the entire thing just here. Now, I don't know if you can see while I'm doing this, but just here, these numbers went up when I scaled it and went down again when I brought it back down again. Now remember I said that this is all full of stuff that's quite complicated. Well, we can adjust this directly if we want to. All we have to know is what scale we're working at. So if I change the scale back to 1, 1 and 1, that's the original size of the box. Okay, so all I did was I pressed 1 in here, hit tab to go to the next one, 1, hit tab, 1. So if I want to make it 2 times bigger, I would go 2, tab, 2, tab, 2, tab. And if I wanted to make it 5 times bigger, it would be 5, 5, 5. Okay, I'm not going to explain every time that I press tab, because once I've done it a couple of times, you should know that what I've done, but 2, 2, 1.5. Oops, that's 105. I made a mistake. If I've made a mistake, hold control and press Z, and it'll go back to what it was just before. And then in here I'll put 1.5. See, that's how easy it is. Okay, we've just got enough time just to talk about one last thing. Now then, when we move things, and I can press W to get to the move tool, E for rotate and R for scale, you'll notice it kind of moves in teeny increments. That's because over here we've got what's known as a snap value. Now if I change that to 50, it'll only move 50 small blocks at a time. Okay, that's its measuring. The same goes for 100. Now it was set at 10, but if I was to move it down to 1, for example, you'll see that we're able to move it a lot easier really, but at the same time it's a lot harder to get it to line up with things. Now this also covers things like the rotation and stuff, and we can turn this off by just clicking here, and then we don't get any snap. Okay, I just need to control Z to bring it back. So if I bring it to 10, it doesn't matter, it doesn't use that because this isn't active. But if I turn it back on again, it does. Now if I go to my rotate here, you'll notice that it goes in 10 increments. So 10, 20, 30, yeah? Again, we can either turn that off here, which means we can move it as much as we want in any direction. Or, if I turn that back on, we can change it to 5, 10, 15, 30, 45, 90, 90C, so a very precise way of moving it. And I'll put that back to 10. And then over here, of course, is scaling. And we can scale it to a quarter, a half, a whole. You've got all the scaling options here that you could possibly want as well. Right. You have learned how to manipulate objects inside Unreal Engine. That is literally one of the most important things inside of Unreal Engine. So well done you if you've been following along. What we'll talk about next is how to actually get started, perhaps making something fun that you can just be able to show somebody and be able to play in yourself, just to kind of learn how to build a game level. Okay, well, I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next part.